Extreme poverty. This is rock bottom. Extreme poverty means you don't have the basics: food, clean water, shelter, or healthcare. If you live here, every day is about survival. You're not thinking about investments or savings, you're thinking, how do I eat today? People in this category often work extremely hard, sometimes harder than anyone else, yet they remain trapped. It's not laziness, it's the brutal reality of being stuck in a cycle where no matter how much effort you put in, the system keeps you from moving up. Globally, the World Bank defines extreme poverty as living on less than $2.15 a day. That's less than the price of a cheap cup of coffee in many cities. People in this category are often stuck in cycles they can't escape. A broken shoe, a sick child, or a dry season for crops can completely ruin them. Think of rural villages in parts of sub-Saharan Africa or slums in South Asia. In these places, opportunities don't exist. Even if someone works sun up to sundown, they're still trapped. Life expectancy is shorter, education is rare, and survival is the only goal. Poverty. Now, poverty is a step above extreme poverty, but it's still brutal. People here might have food, but not always enough of it. They might have shelter, but it's unstable or unsafe. And forget luxuries, every cent goes to essentials. There are two kinds of poverty: absolute and relative. Absolute poverty is what we just talked about, the bare minimum for survival. Relative poverty, which is more common in wealthier countries, means you have the basics, but still fall so far below the average standard of living that you feel excluded or stuck. In the US, the poverty line for a family of 4 is about $30,000 a year. But living on that in New York City versus rural Alabama is completely different. In high-cost areas, that money vanishes in rent alone. What defines this level is insecurity. You might make it through the month, but one unexpected medical bill or car breakdown can push you into debt. Dreams like buying a house or starting a business feel out of reach. Poverty means living constantly on edge. Lower middle class. Here's where things start to shift. Maybe you graduated from university or you are doing some online gig work, but you are at the very least earning better than before. Lower middle class households can usually cover basic needs without constant panic, but comfort is still limited. Maybe you can afford a used car, rent a small apartment, and go out to eat once in a while, but everything is carefully budgeted. These families often live paycheck to paycheck. They have jobs, sometimes even full-time, but those jobs don't pay much above the minimum needed to survive. You might be a retail worker, delivery driver, or early career office employee. This group often feels the weight of inflation the hardest. Gas goes up, rent rises. Suddenly, their already tight budget cracks. They want to save or invest, but there's little left after bills. The constant pressure is, how do I make it to the next payday? Middle class. The classic middle class, the group politicians love to talk about. At this level, life feels relatively stable. You own some assets, maybe a modest house or a newer car. You can take family vacations, eat out regularly, and afford health insurance. The middle class doesn't mean rich. It means you're comfortable enough not to worry about every single dollar. You're not living lavishly, but you can handle surprises. Your fridge is full, the kids go to school with proper supplies, and you can think beyond survival. But there's a catch. The middle class is shrinking in many countries. Rising costs of housing, healthcare, and education are squeezing this group. A family that once felt secure now often feels just getting by. Many middle-class families are one major financial hit away from slipping down the ladder. Upper middle class. This is the professional tier. Doctors, lawyers, engineers, business managers. Upper middle-class people have careers that pay well, often 6 figures. They usually own a home, drive newer cars, and invest in retirement funds or stocks. People in this category have little time for everything else because they are constantly working long hours. But because of good income, money starts to give freedom. You can choose nicer neighborhoods, send kids to a good school, or take vacations abroad. You're not rich, but you're secure. If the car breaks down, you fix it. If the economy dips, you tighten your belt, but survive. But even here, there's a glass ceiling. Upper middle class wealth often depends on income from work. Stop working, and the lifestyle cracks. True wealth, the kind where your money works for you, comes later on the ladder. The affluent. This group isn't just earning good money, they're building wealth. The affluent own assets beyond their homes, stocks, bonds, maybe rental properties, or a small business. Their net worth could be in the high six figures to low millions. People in this group are earning well over $1 million. Choices open up. You can retire early, pay for college without loans, or weather long stretches without income. Money provides not just security, but options. However, the affluent are not immune to fear. They're still tied to markets, jobs, or businesses. A major recession, a bad investment, or unexpected expenses can take a heavy toll. They're better off than most, but not untouchable. The rich. Now we're entering a different world. Rich people don't just live comfortably, they live with luxury. Think multiple houses, expensive cars, high-end vacations, and private schools for kids. This is where wealth starts to separate you from everyday life. Grocery bills, utility prices, or gas hikes aren't even noticed. Money shields you from inconvenience. If something breaks, you replace it. If you want something, you buy it. But even among the rich, there are levels. Someone relying on earned income of $500,000 a year in Los Angeles isn't living like someone with $20 million in investments. Still, both are far removed from middle-class stress. The ultra-rich. This is rare air. Net worth in the hundreds of millions. These people are names you recognize. Celebrity athletes, Hollywood stars, hedge fund managers. These ultra-high net worth individuals, or UHNWEs, buy companies as investments and can influence politics with their money. At this level, money creates power. You don't just live comfortably, you can shape industries, media, or culture. Philanthropy, political donations, and legacy projects become tools of influence. But with this wealth comes a different kind of stress, privacy, security, and reputation. When you have everything, the fear becomes losing it or being exposed to the public. The billionaires. Finally, the top of the pyramid. Billionaires don't just live in luxury, they live in a separate reality. They can buy islands, fund space exploration, or build entire cities if they want. Their wealth generates more wealth, often faster than they can spend it. Billionaires control companies that shape how the world works. Amazon, Tesla, Meta. Their decisions affect millions of people's jobs and futures. For them, money is not about comfort, it's about legacy and power. But they also live in a bubble. Billionaires don't shop at supermarkets or worry about gas prices. Their world is so far removed from everyday life that comparisons hardly make sense anymore. When you look at all these levels side by side, the gap is staggering. Someone in extreme poverty earning $2 a day and someone making $2 billion a year are living on the same planet but in completely different worlds. And the truth? Most of us will hover somewhere between the lower middle class and the upper middle class. Very few climb to the affluent or rich level, and only a fraction of a fraction reach the billionaire tier. Still, the journey through these levels isn't always linear. People rise and fall depending on luck, choices, and timing. A job loss can push someone down a level. A smart investment or successful business can push them up. So the real question is, where do you sit on this ladder, and how far do you want to climb?